Pete. Pete, what are you doing?
This is my stepladder.
Why do you have a stepladder?
I never knew my real ladder.
Did you really just tell that joke?
Hey, that was brilliant. What are you on about?
That's not brilliant. That was awful. Look, we've been off the air for, what is it now? How long has it been since you and I did a podcast together, Pete?
It's been about 6 weeks.
And that's the gang you chose to come back with.
I've got others.
We'll look forward to those at some other point.
If you want.
There's only so many jokes I can take in one day. It's great to be back. Now, if you've just joined us and you've not watched the Constant Geekery podcast before, we should be doing a little bit of a catch-up. We've got some news, and we've got our two main topics to have a look at this week. We're going to be checking out Apple's new 3-meter Thunderbolt 4 cable, available to you at just $159. And we're also going to be talking about Apple's self-service repair and whether or not we think that's a particularly environmentally sound thing. So if you're of the ilk where you like to just get to the nub of the issue,
You're missing all the fun.
you will miss all the fun. Well, I think we might have oversold it there, but
You'll miss something. That's
you'll
for
miss
sure.
something. There'll be chapters anyway, and you can skip forward by all means. But I think, last time I did a podcast was with Tom,
Yeah,
and prior to that I did one with Erin.
yeah, and no one's been screaming for me to come back. So thanks, guys. Missed you too. No, I have actually missed you all. I've had a few weeks out for various things, mainly health related.
Yeah, I heard you were collecting crows. I thought you had a lot of corvids.
Oh, okay. So
You set the level. I'm just maintaining it. That's all that's happening here.
did you hear about the limbo dancer that walked into a bar?
No.
Okay.
Is that it? This is terrible.
They lost.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thanks. We've got Erin with us again
It's
today.
me. I'm here.
Hello, Erin.
always.
Yeah. Do not panic. It's not just me and Dave back.
No.
Yeah.
We've maintained Erin's presence.
Although Erin has recently been on a little getaway. Am I allowed to tell people this?
Yeah, I don't mind.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Erin's been off for a little getaway to Paris with some of her friends.
Has she now?
And you know that film with Liam Neeson in Taken, where the girls don't come back?
I am aware of that one.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that didn't happen on this occasion.
Wow.
Erin is back with us.
Wow.
Um,
Okay.
Did you see all of the sites, Erin?
I did. I saw
The local hospital?
Yeah, that was fun.
Am I missing something here?
Didn't you get stabbed in the eye or something, Erin?
I went to a concert and I dived into my friend's finger, which resulted in a chunk of my eye coming out.
That sounds really, really bad. How much of a chunk are we talking?
It was, well, the French doctor looked at me and went, "Ooh, that's not good." So,
that's
yeah.
not-
Did he though? Did he though, Erin?
He said it in a French accent, so...
Can you approximate that, or are we likely to get censored?
Whatever accent you were about to do then, Erin, it definitely wasn't going to be French.
It was not French. I do apologise. Yeah.
So I've just enjoyed a week off. And
Have
I've,
you? Have
I've
you been on holiday?
I've been mainly laying patio slabs.
Have you?
That is the life that I lead. I just, it's
Well,
all high flying and jet setting for me.
Yeah, that's the life of a YouTube vlogger, or whatever it is that you are.
Well, actually, I've never done a vlog up until recently, and I did last week because I've been wanting to do a bit of motorcycle content on a different channel. And I did indeed kit my bike up with some cameras and a microphone, and I attempted to do a vlog. So at some point, that might see the light of day.
Interesting. You have done a vlog, by the way.
Have I?
Yeah, you just never published it. It was your Apple Watch review.
That was actually good because it was just full of me abusing people who live in a particular place. And that sounds really bad, but it's the same place where I live, so it's okay. Yeah. And whilst, of course, you were away, so I did the podcast with Erin, who you'll notice has very lovely hair, and there's definitely nothing wrong with her fringe. Is there, Erin? It's all fine.
There's no need to bring it up, is there?
Well, no, but I have done anyway.
Okay.
So, up to you if you want to embellish
will.
that with some more information.
I always cut my own fringe because it would be expensive to go to a hairdresser every time. And yesterday I cut my fringe slightly too short. Usually I have like wavy hair, so it was like up here. So I'm going to have to straighten my hair every morning for the next like 2 weeks. So that'll be fun.
Erin likes getting up early for work, so I think that's been a great result.
It's great.
And, staying on the theme of hair as well, someone commented on the most recent podcast that you and with your hair thing that you're doing there, and Tom with his luxuriant locks are just trolling me.
Yes, we are. We are absolutely trolling you. Because why wouldn't you?
Why
I mean,
wouldn't
look at it. It's lovely. It's like the white cliffs of Dover, but brown. It will eventually become white working with you.
Yeah. I notice it's slowly inching its way round to the back as well.
Yeah, the coastal erosion is going on.
I'm allowed to say this because mine is probably worse than yours.
It probably is.
It probably won't have escaped your notice, or indeed the viewers, that I have indeed been follically delengthened.
Yeah, and I didn't want to say anything because sometimes you're never quite sure when it's quite a severe delengthening, whether it was intentional or not.
Yeah. Well, I said about doing labour last week. I wasn't at a labour camp. I haven't been shaved.
Right. Okay.
It's just that I opted for the wrong size comb when my wife did my hair. And that's just it. Years ago, Pete, right back in the 90s, I used to actually get mistaken for a snooker player called Peter Ebdon. And
you've got to Google that, everyone, because you will see it.
I'm sure that Tommy will stick up a picture for you. But then Peter Ebdon lost all his hair, and then for a long time, I've not been mistaken for Peter Ebdon. But now I'm losing my hair. It's entirely possible I'm going to get mistaken for Peter Ebdon again.
Do you remember that time because you used to wear a full beard, didn't you? Staying on the subject of hair, we will get to technology at some point. Do you remember that day you came into the office? It was years ago now, and you were clean shaven like you are today. And having known you for many, many years with a beard, I wanted to say, can't help but notice you've shaven your beard off. I got as far as can't help but, and you went, I don't want to talk about it. Do you remember that?
I don't. I've obviously blocked it out.
Yeah, it was similar to what happened there, but down there with no clip. So I think you went to trim your beard and you hadn't put a clip in. And you just went, vroom.
Yes, I think I do remember. Sad times. Speaking of hair and genetics and things like that, somebody is absolutely convinced, you must have seen this in the comments section, Erin. Someone is absolutely convinced that you're my daughter. And
I don't mean to be rude to that person, but have you been to an optician's recently?
it's possible that he's had the same issue that Erin's had with a chunk of eye missing or something like that.
Yeah, maybe you've just had your
possible.
eyes stabbed out in Paris.
Yeah, so sorry to fill you with horror there, Erin.
It's fine.
That would actually be genetically impossible, I'm fairly certain.
Yeah.
Because of the colour of your eyes and the colour of her eyes.
Yes, and also the fact that we don't look alike, even remotely.
Yeah, I think I did see one comment where someone said you can tell that their father and daughter just look at I think it was the nose, or it might have been the chin or something. It's like, everyone's got a nose. Most people have got a nose and a chin. You can't use that to decide if someone's related, because on that basis we'd be related.
Oh, there's
I'm
a
not
thought.
his daughter.
I feel like we should probably do some tech news, but I just got to say how lovely it is to be back, and we should be back again next week as well with another podcast. But then the week after that, you're taking a holiday.
Actually, yeah.
So,
despite having not been around for a long time because I nearly died, that's not an exaggeration, by the way. I did nearly die, so
I think we should just let the viewers know though that it is an exaggeration.
Yeah, it is. I'm fine. I was still, and then stuff. But yeah, I'm actually going on a proper holiday.
Good. Where are you going?
Somewhere warm.
Excellent. It's quite warm here at the moment.
Well, there you go. I'll leave you guessing. I don't want to say exactly where I'm going because I don't want the tens of thousands of fans that we have following me to where I'm going.
That would be a problem,
mobbing me.
wouldn't it? Yeah.
It's just, I need some downtime.
Okay. That's understandable. So maybe I'll drag Tom in and do another podcast and see if we can get him to talk a bit more next time.
Yeah, maybe we can get him to shave his hair off, make you feel better.
I could offer to pay him a couple of quid for coming on because he'll be desperate for funds.
Oh, yes, because he has actually been to Centre Parks.
Yeah. Good.
That was my gag, by the way.
Was it? Centre Park. You supplied the gag, but I've heard that Erin supplies you with your gags. So,
well, she supplies gags, but most of them I reject on the basis they're not funny, whereas mine are obviously hilarious. Shall we talk about tech news?
let's. Now, when I did the podcast with Tom, which was the last podcast we did, things were just kind of kicking off with Elon Musk. Will he join the board of Twitter or won't he join the board of Twitter? And of course, since then, everything's changed. And Elon has bought Twitter. And I don't get this. I don't get why it's worth $44 billion, because that is indeed what he's paying for it.
Yeah.
So Twitter in 2021, I had to look this up, but they had revenue of $5 billion. And I question how they even made $5 billion, but I suppose it's from selling advertising. But that's the revenue. That's not the profit. So how is the company worth $44 billion?
I don't have an answer for you because this happens all the time, doesn't it? And it's obviously, I'm sure there's people that say this is economics that you and I don't understand. It's beyond us, but yeah.
Which is probably true. And you know, I'm not among those who would immediately leave Twitter because Elon Musk has bought it. I'm more inclined to leave Twitter because it just depresses me.
Yeah.
Every time I open it up. But sticking with the silly valuations, of course, Elon's got a bit of prior with this, hasn't he? Have you seen the stock price of Tesla recently?
Yes. Crazy. It's at one point it might still be. It was going up by 20% a day. A day.
That is amazing, and the market cap is $1 trillion. And I saw this. Someone had put together a graph of, I don't know, maybe 20 other big car manufacturers, the likes of Honda and Toyota and others, and their market capitalization, which comes nowhere near $1 trillion. But then it was showing their revenues, and the revenue of all these traditional car companies absolutely dwarfs Tesla. So in 2021, Tesla had a massive increase in revenue, and they did 53.8 billion. So, and that's revenue. How much profit is within that?
Well, it seems like the bigger that you are as a business, the more loss you can make, and people still want to buy your company. So they probably made a horrendous loss.
It's crazy, isn't it? And it just makes you wonder who's buying all these shares. And I assume that Tesla does seem to. I don't want to upset anybody. I think they're amazing cars, and I'd probably be quite happy to have one. But the fanboy. There is quite a few cultists, isn't there? The cult of Tesla, it is a real thing. And I wonder whether it's these guys buying it up or if this is just yet another bubble that we're going to see.
Well, we talked about bubbles a while back when we were talking about games, weren't we? And it does feel like these silly valuations, they cannot be sustainable. And it's just a question of when people will allow them to go bust. I think there was that big company in China there's that expression, too big to fail. Was it Evergrande?
I don't know.
And they said, Evergrande's too big to fail, and it did. So, yeah, be careful if you're investing in that sort of thing.
Yeah, probably not. Well, we can't give out stock advice. I don't know anything about it, really. I just know that, from running our own private company, I know what we turn over and what our profit is and what our company's valued at. And I know what those ratios are. And this just makes no sense whatsoever.
No, it's very silly from a common sense point of view anyway.
Speaking of things that aren't silly, artificial intelligence. Pete, you saw something in the news about artificial intelligence?
Yeah, so Ian Goodfellow was the director of machine learning at Apple.
Right.
And I think he was at Google before that. But he's been in post, I think it was 4 months.
4 years, I think.
4 years, yeah, sorry. I forgot to carry the one. 4 years. But he's now resigned.
Why?
Well, he's not happy with Apple's remote work policy. So Apple are phasing back in some mandatory requirements for people to be in the office initially 1 day a week, and then they're upping it. I think it might be to 3 days a week. I should have Should have.
I think it is, yeah.
that.
So it went 1 day, 2 days, and 3 days, yeah. Or it's 3 days later this month.
And he was quoted as saying, "I believe strongly that more flexibility would have been the best policy for my team." Yeah. It's a bit of a hot potato.
This one is quite difficult for us as business owners, I think, as well, to comment on. We have to be quite careful, but it seems that there is a bit of a drive for employees to stay remote working. And that's causing problems for businesses like ours, where we are committed to investment in a building, which is not something we can get out of, because there are lease periods and all the rest of it. I know we've just moved, but that was because we had to migrate our lease, if you like, and we've actually reduced our commitment by moving. So if you're in that position, we are paying to heat this building, we've got it decked out, and so you kind of want your team to be in, but at the same time, we've been doing fine with people working remotely as well.
Yeah. And I think what often happens in so many things these days, and we've talked about this on the podcast before, is that the middle ground seems to elude people. So you get the people say, why would you ever want to do anything other than work at home? That complete, always be at home. There's no value to ever coming into an office. And then you've got the other extreme, some characters in the city, some big CEOs of people. I think like the CEO of Morgan Stanley was one of them, if I recall, saying that people are stealing if they're working at home. They're not working hard. They're not being productive, and that they should be in all the time. Both of those are extremes, and it just doesn't seem to have any recognition of the fact that we're social beings. So yes, while you can have social interactions virtually, most people would agree that they're not the same as interacting directly, and that includes the work environment in our experience. And so it always feels like if you're not in a polarized camp, you're somehow wrong. But I think we've embraced the fact that it's a hybrid situation seems to work, because there are definite benefits from working from home, productivity, focus, but there's also benefits from being together and collaborating and sharing knowledge, and just having a bit of banter together.
Yeah. And there's a couple of things that we've noticed in our business from an employer's perspective, is that communication within individual teams is always excellent, even when working remotely. But if you don't need to communicate with another team, you won't. Whereas when you're in the office, you kind of walk past people sat at another desk, you might stop and have 5 minutes, or you're generally aware of what's going on. So we found that communication between different teams has suffered as a result of remote working. And there's another area as well of concern, and that is for youngsters getting trained.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because they're just not going to make the progress in the same way at home. Depends on what you're talking about. I'm talking about developers.
Yeah.
Young developers need to be sat with more experienced developers to rapidly, progress. Be interested though to hear what you guys think about it. I mean, we're sort of of the opinion that's, a bit of both is good. But this seems like a very hardline response to give up a prestigious job. It almost makes you wonder whether there's something else behind it. And maybe he's just using that.
Maybe there's some toys in the pram, and the two are not aligned at the moment. Who knows? We're just speculating.
Erin, you do most of your work in the office here in the studio,
and you're part of generation. What is it?
Z.
Are you?
No,
Yeah.
I often think you're generation Y.
Just the jokes aren't getting any better.
No.
So, Erin, do you have a viewpoint on work from home versus work in the office?
I prefer working from the office just because I get distracted really easily at home. That's pretty much it.
Yeah. So I think everybody's different, and again, it's not a one-size-fits-all solution, and a lot of the advocates for everyone should be working from home aren't considering that some people just don't work well from home.
Or they don't want to.
Or they don't want to, yeah.
And some people do, and that's fine too. We've got some in our business that are demonstrably happier and better working from home, but conversely, we've had some that have really suffered. through the pandemic being isolated. It's not done them any good at all, and they'd be the first to admit that.
So anyway, Apple want their staff in 3 out of 5 days a week. Is that unreasonable? I don't know. Maybe you've got a view on that. Some people think it is. Ian Goodfellow certainly does. So who knows what that means for machine learning at Apple anyway. Erin, you had a piece of news that you spotted.
I do. It might sound slightly familiar. Basically, the new Google Pixel Watch was left behind in a bar.
Oops.
And it got leaked, like the design of it, which might sound a bit familiar.
Was it really left behind?
It does. Here, valued employee, we want to entrust you with this top secret new device that's not been released yet. Whatever you do, don't show this to anybody or leave it anywhere, will you? And then they leave it in a bar. I don't know.
Erin, can I just check, because I know attention to detail isn't always your forte. When you say Google Watch leaked, are you sure there's not some problem with the seals on it or something like that?
Oh,
I don't get it.
no, and you don't need to either. That's the thing, because that is yet another really bad joke.
It's really bad.
Okay. Do you like the new Google Pixel Watch, Erin?
I think it's cool because it's round and it looks like more like a traditional watch. But like for actual photos, it's quite chunky, which I'm not into.
Oh, the Apple Watch is quite chunky as well, though.
Is it?
But it hides it. It hides it a little bit better because the underside where the sensors are is smaller than the top side, so that kind of digs into your skin and you don't really notice it.
Apart from digging into your skin.
Yeah, it's like traditional watch companies do it as well. If you've got an automatic watch, they can tend to be quite thick, and they'll bevel the edges of the case and do all sorts of other things to make it look like it's thinner than it actually is.
It's a bit like wearing stripes on your shirt, isn't it? That are vertical rather than horizontal.
To make you look slimmer and taller.
Yeah, I deliberately wore a check shirt today knowing I'd be filming because apparently check's one of the best things for a camera.
Tight checks are certainly not a winner. What I find interesting is that they've also pictured it with a silicone strap that looks very similar to the Apple Sports Band, and it would seem that Google is coming up with a similar idea, so basically just copying what Apple's doing, but then...
They're not copying what Apple's just doing. I'm sorry. There are only so many ways to do that kind of band.
Well, I was about to say that, but then you just interrupted me.
Well, I didn't know you were
You clambered up onto your high horse there.
And my soap box. Yeah, it's like saying, look at your watch there with its metal bracelet.
It's ceramic.
Moving on.
Yeah, we should move on. We need to get on to our main topic, except we can't because Erin's got yet more news.
I have more. I'm very prepared.
Just an unending stream of current events coming from Erin's mind of tech.
This one's very interesting. I found it interesting. I didn't get it, but it's interesting. People are buying land.
I think you'll find that's not that unusual.
People are buying land in the metaverse.
Oh, okay.
Speaking of bubbles and the next thing.
I saw this story, and it's not small amounts of money we're talking about either, is it, Erin?
Like 5,000 upwards.
5,000 what?
Pounds, obviously.
Because obviously different currencies have different values.
Aye.
So if you just said 5,000 rubles, for example.
Zimbabwean dollars.
Yeah.
I actually have a $1 trillion, no, I think it might be $100 trillion Zimbabwean note, which I think might have been enough to get a loaf of bread for a day.
Certainly not enough to buy any Tesla stock.
No. Yeah, I guess that people are doing this because they think it's going to be the next big thing. So they're taking a punt on it.
Oh, hang on. No, they're not paying money. Apparently, according to these notes here, they're paying monkey for pixels. Oh, is that a typo?
Yes.
Sorry.
That's Erin's. Erin's spelling is always really good, but occasionally there are mistakes.
Yes.
But let's move on.
Have we got a main topic or two?
Have you updated? Oh, she has updated the whiteboard. For a long time, it said Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then Friday. The calendar, according to Erin.
I love the way that our weeks only have 4 days as well.
Well, neither of us work on Friday.
Well, it's arguable that any of you work, really. Is there any kind of Thunderbolt cable available on the market at the moment. I know that's. Did you like that segue?
Yeah,
You can tell that I've been podcasting for weeks without a break, can't you?
So this has hit the. This is actually one of our main topics. Now we're going to actually talk about this. I don't know how a main topic differs from a news topic, but it's just
how we. It's the format, isn't it? It's how we segment things up.
So Apple have released a 3-meter Thunderbolt 4 cable, and this is $159 or £159. Now, this has been released to quite a lot of condemnation or ridicule at the price, the Apple tax. This is so expensive, and lots of people were, making all sorts. All the Apple haters have come out of the woodwork for this. Now, let's just be clear here. We're among the first to call out Apple on their unfair pricing strategies. But actually, in this case, this isn't a bad deal. So the people who are hating on it don't understand what it is.
No.
And it's not a USB cable. One of the problems that we've got at the moment is that Thunderbolt and USB are using the same type of connector and are, to a degree, intercompatible.
Yes.
So when you had Thunderbolt 3, it incorporated USB.
It did.
So you could have the fastest possible USB, and you also got Thunderbolt 3. But if you plug a Thunderbolt 3 device into a computer that does not have a Thunderbolt controller,
it won't work.
It won't work. And that, it's confusing that they use the same type of connector.
But it does make a lot of sense in other ways.
Yeah. And the previous versions of Thunderbolt, Thunderbolt 1 and Thunderbolt 2, used the mini DisplayPort connector. And they supported mini DisplayPort or DisplayPort as part of their standard. Yeah. But that was less confusing, I think, than this USB. Now you've got this other situation where you've got USB 4. So if you've got a device from Apple that has an M1 chip in, so for example, the M1 iPad Pro, the MacBook Air, the 13-inch MacBook Pro with Touch Bar, the Mac Mini, the iMac, they are all USB 4.
Yes.
Okay. Your laptop there, which is the new MacBook Pro 14-inch, is Thunderbolt 4.
Yes.
Now, do you know what the difference is?
Yes.
Would you be able to explain the difference to a layman?
I'd much rather you did it.
I thought you might say that. I just had a sneaking suspicion. Okay, so USB 4 can incorporate, because Intel opened up the standard for Thunderbolt, then USB 4 can incorporate Thunderbolt 3. But it doesn't have to. And I got all sorts of abuse for featuring a product on the channel back along made by Oracle, which they call a USB 4.0. There is no standard called USB 4.0, but they call it a USB 4.0 external SSD enclosure.
Catchy.
But I reviewed it as a USB 4 device, and I referred to it as a USB 4 device because for all of the things where it actually matters, it does conform to the standard for USB 4. The fact that it doesn't have an actual USB 4 controller in it and instead has a hybrid of Thunderbolt and USB makes no difference to the actual function of the device as the standard applies to that type of device. But people,
people always want to have a moan.
There's always the keyboard warriors who've got to correct you. And you sort of, it's like, okay, well, how would it change it if it had an actual USB 4 chip? What would materially change about the product and the way you use it? Absolutely nothing at all. Yeah. Anyway, there is a difference. So USB 4 incorporates Thunderbolt 3. However, Thunderbolt 4 is a new standard. And Thunderbolt 4 incorporates USB, just like the previous Thunderbolt standard, but it also has a doubling of PCIe bandwidth, and that's fairly significant. So it means that Thunderbolt 4 is capable of transferring more data.
Because it's got more bandwidth.
Well, it doesn't have more bandwidth over the cable, but it does have more bandwidth through the controller. I think that's probably the easiest way to explain it. And again, I expect someone will correct me. I'm talking off the cuff, of course. But if you double up the PCIe bandwidth inside, it means you're removing a bottleneck, which enables the cable to work more efficiently.
I think, technically speaking, more stuffs can go through at once.
Now, this is very important for things like Apple's Pro XDR display, which is a 6K display, and the Studio display, which is a 5K display, which also have cameras, audio, and downstream USB ports. And Thunderbolt? Is there a downstream Thunderbolt?
Yeah, I think there is. Yeah.
So you've got to have, a good quality connection to be able to put that much data through. And we did talk on the channel, and I can't remember who I talked about it with, and it was probably you, where we talked about the amount of bandwidth required to drive a 5K or a 6K display.
It's fairly chunky. It was us because you went through the calculations.
So you need a good quality cable. And the issue that you get then with these Thunderbolt 4 cables, so Thunderbolt 4 is what it is that a passive Thunderbolt 4 cable is limited to 2 meters in length. So you've got all these people who see the advert for Apple's 3 meter cable, $159, that's crazy. You can get a cable for $25 on Amazon. And it's like, no, you can't. You
can get a cable,
but it won't be
for
3 meters long
on Amazon. Well, you can get a cable.
So there are basically no alternatives that offer this same thing because of this limitation. And it's all down to signal loss through copper cable, which is it's not some new thing. If you get your internet, for example, like most people do in the UK through ADSL, so it's copper lines, fibre to the cabinet, and then copper line to your house.
Yeah, the further away you are from the cabinet, the worse your internet speed will be.
Exactly. So more noise comes into the cable from all sorts of other types of interference, and the signal to noise ratio changes. So you just don't get the same performance. You cannot have that happen with your 6K Pro XDR display or your Studio display.
No, because that would be I'm trying to think of the word. Disappointing.
Disappointing is a good word. So you can get longer cables than 2 meters. That has been possible, but they are optical cables. So you have a converter at each end and then it transmits over optics.
So no loss.
Yeah. And those are understandably a lot more expensive, but they also have another limitation, and that is...
I guess if they're optical, they can't carry power.
Correct. And one of the key things about the Studio display, for example, is that it has 100 watt power delivery per the USB-C standard, just to confuse everybody. So to have a cable then that's 3 meters long that complies with the Thunderbolt 4 standard, can do everything that Thunderbolt 4 needs to do.
And that's the only one at that length that can do all those things.
It's literally the only one on the market. Suddenly $159 sounds like a bit of a bargain, doesn't
it? If you want one, if you need one.
And that's the thing, who does need one? Who is this cable for?
Well, I would say it's for professionals. It's people that need it for a very specific application, and it's one of those things that if you need it, you need it.
Yeah, so in all likelihood, that's going to be a professional workstation situation where they're using one of these displays and they need a cable that's longer than 2 meters to get from the display to their workstation. Perhaps they've got multiple displays set up on their desk and it's quite easy to see. I mean, 2 meters isn't very long, is it? If your workstation is under your desk and you've got monitors on Visa brackets.
And 3 meters is 50% longer.
It is. At least that.
Yeah. So when you think of it that way, it's 50% more cable than you would be buying if you bought a 2 meter one.
Indeed. Well, for all fairness, let's flip the argument just for a moment and just point out that Apple sell the 2 meter version of this cable for $129.
Oh, now it's seeming like really good value because you're getting 50% more, but you're not paying 50% more.
Yeah, or that $129 one is just grossly overpriced.
Apple wouldn't do that, would they?
It's not like them, is it? Anyway, I don't think the 3 meter cable deserved the flack that it got, and I think a lot of people who threw that flack probably did themselves a disservice because...
Yeah, probably. They're probably the same people who've got one of those really expensive kettle leads for their hi-fi system.
Well, you can't knock it. If you're looking for that extra 0.1% of sound quality, Pete...
Have you got one?
I have not.
Right, good.
I do know that people buy them. So...
Okay. I bet you if you actually use it on a kettle, you get 0.1% quicker boiling as well.
You probably get a more refined boiled water.
Yeah. A purer water.
So let's just throw this one over to Erin because I think this might be amusing. Although I can't actually see Erin's face, which most of the time is a good thing.
Wow.
But there's a TV sat rudely in the way, so I can't see what Erin's face is like. So this is just for the viewers. Do you know what a kettle lead is?
No.
So you know the power leads that we use for the lights.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, there's one by your feet going into that lighting adapter.
Yeah.
Those sort of three.
Don't unplug it now to have a look at it.
They're the kind of things that you can get for £3 online.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but you can get really nice deluxe ones
Okay.
that are much better insulated against electrical interference entering into your power and making it all dirty.
Okay.
Which you don't want in a high-end sound. Sorry, I just caught Pete sniggering there. You don't want that on a high-end sound system. So how much would you say people would pay for one of those better quality power cables?
Oh, like £20?
Interesting.
How
So
much do they cost?
in some cases, more than £1,000.
That is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. That is so stupid. No.
Audiophiles, you heard it here first.
Just a caveat there. You did say this is stupid, and that's because you don't understand it, isn't it, Erin? You weren't suggesting that any of our
No.
lovely listeners might be.
You spend your money on them cables, you do.
Mind you, some people might look at your what you spend your money on, like the boots you have on now, for example, and also question
But
your
I didn't spend
choices.
£1,000 on my boots. I spent down from £40 to £35.
£35. That's the most stupid thing I've ever heard. Erin. Honestly, I'd never consider spending that on those boots.
Yeah. Were they used previously in like a nuclear power plant disaster or something like that with a hazmat suit?
They're from a knockoff shop in Brighton.
So what you're saying is you're wearing counterfeit discounted boots.
Counterfeit, yeah.
Wow, that's okay. I
gonna get-
don't think that you're in a position to criticise anybody for buying power cables.
I don't get quality, you guys. You
I-
spend your money.
Yeah, absolutely. It's your money, spend it how you want, and there we go. There is some actual science to support it, so maybe some people can hear the difference. I don't know.
Yeah, I think some people can.
So let's move on to our other main topic, which is to talk about Apple's self-service repair, which has finally started.
Yay! I think we had a little natter about this some months back, didn't we? That it was coming, and we thought that was a good thing because, as the name suggests, it means that you yourself can repair certain aspects of certain Apple devices rather than taking it to an authorised Apple dealer to have it fixed at, some might argue, extortionate cost, if you're so inclined. But there are some limitations, are there not?
Yeah, so it's still US only at the moment, and it's also only for the iPhone. You said Apple devices, but it's...
I said certain Apple devices.
Well,
I think
they
you'll
are very
find-
certain, because it's iPhone 12, 13, and the third generation
I
SE.
think you'll find I said certain things on certain Apple devices. So if you want to get specific, do you? You want to get specific?
I do want to get specific.
iPhone 12, iPhone 13, and iPhone SE third generation.
Thank you. I just said
Thanks
that.
for writing that down.
That's no problem. It's also limited in what you can actually change as well. So, for example, if the logic board goes bad on your iPhone, you cannot get a new logic board, as far as I can see anyway.
Right.
So the parts that you can get, you can get a battery.
Very nice.
Yeah, you can get a bottom speaker.
Who hasn't wanted to replace their bottom speaker at some point in their life?
So the mental imagery that I have right now is amazing. Okay, the camera, it just says camera. I don't know. I assume you can replace all the
Probably
cameras.
both.
Display.
Both, all 15 of them.
Display, SIM tray. That's obviously just a part you can purchase. And the Taptic engine. Yeah.
Excellent.
One of those. So those are the parts that you can do at the moment. I think Apple do intend to roll out more. So what do you think?
Devices or parts?
Devices and parts, yeah.
Good. Just
and more
want to be clear.
regions.
Okay. Yeah. So what do I think of what?
the concept.
Well, I think it's a great concept because it means those that are inclined to and have the skills or the inclination to do it, they can have a go themselves. It's also potentially better for the planet.
Yeah, about that though. I'll come back to that in a minute.
All right. Okay.
But possibly not. Here's the issue. These phones are very specialist devices now, and customers expect better and better and better. And one of the things that customers expect is waterproofing. So these iPhones, I think they're all
IP68, aren't they?
Yeah, I think so. So we tested a phone recently, actually. If you haven't watched that video on the channel, I know you might not be interested in buying an enormous Android phone that's very cheap. But in the video, Erin did get to throw a bucket of water over me. And I'd say it's worth watching just for that.
It is, definitely. And that's on the main channel, which is youtube.com/Constant Geekery.
That's it. Yeah. I like how smoothly you did that as well, Pete.
Because I was also going to say, if you're listening to us on this podcast on your favourite listening platform of choice, then you might want to see us gesticulating about Dave having a bucket of water thrown in one, which would be youtube.com, the Constant Geekery podcast.
Excellent.
That's why I paused, because my brain went into a slight recursive loop for a moment.
Well, you are getting quite elderly, and those things will happen.
Moving on.
So because of these things, you need specialist tools and specialist machines to get... If you want to take the display off, for example, you've got to undo the glue.
Yeah,
that's super strong to give it the IP68 rating. So you've got to heat up the device, and it has to be heated in a particular way. So you've then got screws inside, very tiny, weeny screws of a very particular type, and they need to be torqued to a very specific torque setting. So you actually need little torque wrenches to do this. And now you can buy all of these tools from Apple's website. I did have it open, but the tools are not what you would call cheap.
Are they not? Go on then.
Not really.
Hit me with a price for something.
Let's suppose that I'm going to have an iPhone 13 and I want to do the display.
While you look that up, this is the price of living in the future with all these really slick gadgets. I was watching an old YouTube video. Well, it's a YouTube video of an old Tomorrow's World episode from the 70s where they had a car with, well, it wasn't sat nav, but it was navigation using tape cassette, and the controller box under it was so Heath Robinson, just a bit of bent metal and circuit boards and screws and that kind of thing, and it looked very much of its time. But now we're living in this sleek future where everything is seamless and no bevels and no seams and no screws, and hence hopefully that's a nice segue because you've now found the price of a tool.
I have. So let's start with the price of one of these torque wrenches, shall we, if I can find one. $85.
Whoa.
For each one, and there are different torque drivers that you need with different torque forces. These aren't adjustable torque drivers. So if anyone's not used a torque wrench before...
Hang on, can we ask Erin if she knows what one is?
Do you know what a torque wrench is, Erin?
Yeah, it's the thing you put around a bolt, like the little...
Why is it called a torque wrench?
Because you torque.
Excellent. Well done. I don't think I need to explain any more, do I?
Well, that's why I asked her, because
So you set your torque wrench to the appropriate amount of force that you want to torque up to, and when you get to that, it will just click. And so you know that you've got it to the correct tightness, so you don't over-tighten a bolt.
Or under-tighten it.
Right. Now, that can be pretty important. I'm into motorcycling, as you guys know, and I recently did a repair on my bike, and I needed to torque up to a specific torque value, and that, to me, was very important, because I don't want to ruin my bike or have the part fall off.
You don't want bits falling off when you're biking.
You don't want bits falling off, full stop.
No.
In any aspect of life, that's not a winner.
Once one of my friends got a detached retina.
Did he?
Yeah, and that wasn't good. You want it all joined up.
I think, generally speaking, bits of your body should remain joined to other bits of your body.
Yeah, it's normally good.
It's probably best not to, give away chunks of different bits of your body.
No. Ask Mary Queen of Scots if you've got any questions on that.
So since I got the prices up, I've got the price up for an iPhone 13 display bundle, and that is $270. So that bundle gives you everything you need to change your display, apart from all the tools that you need. So when I say it gives you everything you need, it gives you only the part.
So it gives you some of what you need.
Some of what you need for it. But you remember that Apple said, when you send back your old part, we're going to give you a credit. So the credit when you send back your old screen is $33.60.
Wow.
So that drops the price of your display bundle down to $236.35.
It's very magnanimous of them.
You can also buy the display and screw kit on its own. And I do like the way they've done the screw kits. They've sort of done a cardboard, what would you call it? A cardboard template that the screws are screwed into. And they're screwed into the same place in the cardboard template that they are in the phone.
Okay,
so
that's clever.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good. How much is that?
What, just for the screws?
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't see that. But they don't look to be ridiculous. 2 security screws are... So that'll be the 2 that are at the bottom of the phone either side of the Lightning port. And they're 20 cents for 2 of those.
Yeah, that seems pretty reasonable, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's all right.
You still need the tool.
Display adhesive, 2 pieces of that. So they send you... I mean, you get all of this in the bundle, but you can buy it separately. So they do send you 2 display adhesive kits in case you make a mess of one of them. So you get two goes at it. That's $1.80. Various other bits and bobs. Doesn't seem massively overpriced to me. Now, of course, let's now look at the machines and the various other tools you need. So you need various probes, spudgers, and bits and torque wrenches.
When you say machines, expand on that comment a little bit more. Because tools are one thing, but machines?
So there's a couple of machines. There's one that heats up the phone. So you have to have the right tray. So there's a universal machine, and then you get the right tray for your phone and put it in, and it heats the phone from the side, and then you can suction off the display. Although that didn't actually work in the video that I saw.
Okay,
I'll come to that in a minute. The other machine is a press for pressing the screen on or pressing the case on. Is it? I guess. And in fact, there's another machine as well which rolls the battery in properly. The adhesive spreads. So you need a machine to do that, apparently. Okay. So the display press. So this is just the press. That's $216. You've got the heated display removal tool. That's $256.35. But this is without the carrier that you also will need that's specific to your phone. So I'm having problems with the scrolling on the page here, but the carrier for the phone, let's find that.
This is really smooth, isn't it, folks?
It's really good. So you need a press plate that matches your phone. That's $25.
Okay.
Then you've got a repair tray, which will obviously be specific to the size of the phone. That's $45.
And just to be clear, this is also that you can economically repair your own phone rather than having to take it to a specialist.
Yeah, and don't forget the heated display pocket as well, Pete. That's $108.
The heated display pocket,
which again is specific to your phone.
Pop-Tarts.
I imagine you probably could. Whether you'd want to eat them afterwards or ever repair a phone again with the machine is another question. So there is a solution to this,
right?
And this is the one that most home users are going to take. Now, I can imagine a small repair store. Great, Apple's published the repair manuals. They've made the tools available. A repair store can go and buy all of those tools, all of the different carrier.
And it's worth the investment because they'll charge someone to do a repair of a modest nature rather than Apple main dealer prices.
That's it. Well, I think that actually, from a business perspective, that kind of outlay for the machines and the various tools and bits and bobs is actually not that bad.
Yeah.
So, but the home user is obviously not going to do that. So what you can do instead is pay $49 to rent the tools that you need for 7 days.
Okay. Just the tools.
Yeah.
So you still have to buy the parts.
You have to buy the parts. Yeah.
Okay.
And then the machines come.
Okay.
So I watched Snazzy Lab's video on this, and he weighed them. These 2 flight cases, basically, that get shipped. And it's over 90 pounds of weight.
Whoa.
And when you're finished, those get shipped back again.
You're kidding.
Which brings me back to the whole comment that you made about it being good for the environment.
No, that's not good for the environment at all. £90. Do you know that's how much matter they took out of Erin's eye at that concert? That is a huge amount of...
It's roughly half what I weigh.
Is it?
Yeah. So it's like carrying my legs around, or something like that.
That's a very grim image I've got now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't.
That's quite a big carbon footprint, isn't it?
It is a little bit, and I can't imagine that Apple are actually making a profit out of doing that.
No.
Because here's the other thing as well. So you follow the repair manual through the process. You know, you've got to have the gloves and everything, and you've got to be very careful you don't get dust inside your new screen and all of these kind of things. But if you follow the instructions and you manage to do it, then even then it doesn't go smoothly. Now, Quinn at Snazzy Labs, he had a cracked display that he was trying to remove, and the suction cup just wouldn't do it, even though they give you a kind of sticker to go over the top to attach the suction cup to, but the machine just wasn't getting hot enough, so he ended up kind of working it off with one of these spudger tools, which
spudger is just, I need to say from it, that's such a great word.
It is a good word. And it just didn't look to me like it would be particularly good for somebody like Erin to do.
Really?
Yeah. Now, on this, let's just take a quick sidetrack for a moment. We've been sent a piece of art. Oh, well, I say a piece of art. We've been sent instructions on how to make a piece of tech art that we've got a review on the channel, and Erin is going to do this. She probably doesn't know that yet, but
she does now.
We've been sent an iPhone 4. Do you remember the iPhone 4?
I do.
Great iPhone. Very small.
It's my first iPhone, actually. Because before that, I didn't like them.
There you go. And Erin is going to take that to pieces on camera and make a piece of art out of it.
Interesting.
So we'll see how that goes. I think the average person would probably struggle a little bit with this. But suppose you do get it all done.
Yeah.
Right? At that point, you then have to phone up Apple, because you'll get messages come up on your phone saying this isn't a genuine Apple battery, or this isn't a genuine Apple display.
That you've bought from Apple?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
So you phone them up, and then they check the serial number of your phone matches the serial number of the order for the parts. So there's you're not going to go and buy yourself a screen that you might use in the future on another phone, because they're going to check the serial number.
Sounds like a lot of hassle, doesn't it?
Yeah, a good 15 minutes on the phone whilst they do remote diagnostic and basically get it all paired up and working again. So if you want to put yourself through this stressful situation with your very expensive phone, and pay the carbon footprint that's required to tote these enormous flight cases and machines around, and spend time on the phone to Apple support to get your phone repaired, then if you want to do that, you can. And it will only cost you slightly more than it would cost you to get it repaired by someone else.
Plus your time and that aggravation factor, and actually also the fear that you'll completely stuff it up, which is what I would do.
Yeah,
I'd get glue all over the screen or something like that.
Yeah. So I think it's a great thing for independent repair shops, but I don't think this is a true home self-service option.
This isn't the success it was made out to be.
No, but how could it ever be? Apple was responding to the clamours for repair, so they're going, well, okay, it's almost calling your bluff. It's like, well, you want to repair it, here you go.
Yeah, and it is a bit of a nonsense, isn't it? It kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier about we're in the future, and I know we sometimes get a bit chewy about soldered on components in laptops and things like that, but that is, to a degree, I know some people will say, oh, but there are exceptions, but to a degree that is the price you pay if you want slim, sleek, seamless. And that's the case here. Be careful what you wish for. Yeah. Well played, Apple.
Yeah, I have to say it's quite amusing. I haven't yet seen very many takes on it, so I need to watch a few more takes on it. But I think Lewis Rossman might have something interesting to say about it.
Yeah, he's normally fairly quiet on this sort of thing, so I will be interested to see what he has to say.
Anyway, what do you think? Is self-repair then a win, or is this just early days? Are we being a bit unfair? How do you feel about it? So drop your thoughts in the comments section.
I'll be interested to see when new other devices are introduced.
MacBook, you're hoping for the MacBook?
Well, I don't have to repair it at the moment, but I'd just be interested. Maybe we're judging too soon.
Well, I have to say that with the new Mac Studio, you've got the socketed SSDs, although it's not like you can just go and buy one off the shelf. They have to be matched up. But there's no reason why you couldn't get a replacement SSD from Apple, or potentially even expand your storage through this self-repair program, and you wouldn't need crazy tools, perhaps. I don't know. Anyway, it's that time of the podcast where we like to...
Tom, you know what to do.
Constant geekery, you already know the name. Turn the volume up, this is Pete and Dave. What rumours have you heard? Let us test the claim. Are they facts or are they lies? Let us play the game. Let's talk about the tech. Come and see what is up next. Now you're tuned.
I have wondered whether it's also time to get another jingle in a different musical style.
Well, I was thinking that, actually. I've got a few ideas in mind, but if there are any requests, either from you good selves or from our subscribers, our listeners, on what you'd like to hear next, or maybe if you'd like to actually provide one, it has to be up to the same standard that we've now set. The bar has been set, but let us know and we'll get to work on that.
We do actually have a few musicians in the subscriber base, so you never know.
Quite like an operatic piece next.
Well, be careful what you might wish for.
Be careful what you might wish for.
If I said something wrong,
I think possibly the mic was extraneous.
okay.
But anyway,
Have you got a rumour, Pete?
I've got several.
Oh, good. I haven't seen any of these, so I'm genuinely hearing these for the first time.
Yeah, don't get too excited. AirPods, as in AirPod Pros, because there's so much room for improvement on these. Apple's allegedly planning to release a new design with improved things such as audio quality, possibly some integration with health.
Could I just stop you there, Pete, and ask you just to tone it down a bit? Because this kind of gushing enthusiasm for a product is inappropriate on the podcast. People will think we're like paid by Apple or something.
I have got some AirPods, okay? So it's not like I don't like the product, but the AirPod Pros I'm not so keen on because of the squishy bits in the ear. Anyway.
You see, now I would like the squishy bits in the ear because otherwise they fall out of my ears.
Yeah, I know, but this here says that you're wrong.
Okay.
So what's interesting is possible health integration. Now, I don't know what that means, but obviously we've got the watch recording certain things about you, and we're going to talk about that a bit more in a second with another rumour. But yeah, that's the rumour, and it's come from Bloomberg's Mark Gurman. So,
well, yeah. Although he's been known to be wrong about stuff as well, so you never know. I'm hoping that the health stuff isn't the whole you're listening to your music too loud, therefore I'm going to automatically turn it down.
Yeah, that would be annoying.
Because Sony did that years ago and ruined their digital Walkman line with that nonsense.
I think it might be like temperature tracking or something like that.
Temperature of your ears.
Well, you can use a digital thermometer in your ears, can't you?
Do I want to pay for a digital thermometer in my earbuds?
Well, it's better than having it somewhere else. Well, let me
move on out of the gutter, preferably.
Tell me, well, like under your armpit, or
of course, that's exactly what you meant. I know.
So anyway, how would you rate that rumour?
I don't even. I'm so ambivalent about AirPods. The original AirPods won't fit my ears. I've never been interested in AirPods because I just don't like the way they look. I think they look stupid. I'm sorry to say that because I know you like them, but I think the whole AirPods look is just daft.
I find they stay in my ear and they're acceptable. Okay, so
I
they're due for a refresh based on how Apple refreshes things.
Yeah. So will they bring out a new one? I'd say that's probably green. Will it have some nonsense health integration? You can tell how excited I am about this. I'd probably go amber on that. It's not off the possibility.
Health integration. That is why that's why we don't get invited to WWDC. You know that, don't you?
I say we do get invited because we pay the fee. But look, people have been surviving and living quite happily without AirPods and integrated health benefits of whatever those are. So it's going to have to be something pretty amazing, isn't it?
You could argue that about lots of technology. People survived before WhatsApp and iMessage and email. In fact, I quite like to go back to a time before
I
those
would
things
too.
existed.
That's a time before Erin was born, so I'd definitely like to go back to that time.
Rude.
Yeah.
So rude.
Erin, come on, give us some traffic lights. What do you think about this?
Green, 100% going to happen. I'll build them myself. Yeah.
Okay. And would you
I
trust
don't.
Erin with anything? So,
Especially something you've got to put in your ear.
would you wear AirPods, Erin? Is that
No. I really like the
Over-the-ear ones.
yeah, they're
The
really
AirPod
nice.
Max.
Yes.
Is it
but
AirPod
I
Max?
hate the
Yeah.
actual AirPod Pros. They
Well,
have
that-
like 4 hours of battery life. It's ridiculous.
Well, that's a nice segue, isn't it, into my third rumour, which is now my second rumour, which is that along with the AirPod Pro 2 launch this autumn or fall, whichever you prefer, they're also going to introduce for the AirPod Maxes some new colours.
new colours? I can absolutely see Apple doing that, and I can also already see the YouTube videos. I bought every new colour of the AirPods Max, and then the one that comes a week later, why I'm returning all of my AirPods Max.
Because I've now got the clicks.
And the credit card bill to pay. Yeah, new colours is a great way to get, these Apple are Apple is in a lot of ways a fashion brand.
Yes, we've talked about this before.
Yeah, and so they absolutely will do this, and people will buy them, even if they've already got AirPods Max, because they'll want the new colour.
Or the Hermes one with the tan leather and diamond encrusted headband.
Excellent. Or
And then
the Beats one, which just has an extra lead weight in it to make it feel like it's
Exactly,
worth
yeah.
more than it is.
so shall we rate that as green then?
I'd probably say green. I'm interested to know what Erin thinks, obviously.
Green, definitely.
Okay.
Okay. So finally then.
Sorry, can I just add something to that?
Go on then.
What do we think the chance is that they will change the carry bag, which looks a bit like a bra and or builder's bum situation on the current AirPods Max?
I don't think they will. I think they will stick with it because it will be like, no, we meant it to look that way. You're looking at it wrong.
I see. And what do you think about the carry case? Because you said that you would like AirPods Max, Erin. Would you ever be seen carrying them around in the carry case, which isn't really a carry case?
Yeah, I don't care. I think it looks both funny and cool. So yeah.
Well, you are certainly one of those things, so it will match up.
Excellent.
Okay,
Final rumour,
go on.
and then we can all go home. Apple Watch Series 8 may feature the rumoured body temperature sensor that was missing from the Apple Watch 7.
Okay.
But the may is because they're still trying to perfect the underlying algorithms to make sure that it's actually accurate.
So what this means then is that when you're feeling hot and a bit fevery and sweaty, and you look down at your watch and it says you're hot. Is that what we're talking about?
Well, I guess it is to do with health.
I mean, I don't know. I've got
But body temperature is a good indication of whether you're fighting an infection or something, or
On your
conversely, the
wrist.
other way, if you're dead.
it would be quite useful for the watch to let you know if you were dead.
Yeah.
And I personally absolutely love it when the watch commends you. You know, when it tells you every hour you've got to stand up. It doesn't matter if you've been stood up already that hour. If you've been sat down in the few minutes before it's due to give you its rest, so it'll still give you the reminder. So then you do, not because the watch has told you to do it, but you might stand up and walk around and then it goes, well done, you did it.
I can feel a video coming on. I'm just going to give you the title of it now and tell me if you'd like to see us make this. If Apple Watch was a person. Breathe.
Who would play the person?
Someone's messaged you. Or what I have now, which is really irritating, the tumble dryer's finished. Even when I'm not in the house.
I do get notified when Zach the Vac has finished vacuuming my kitchen.
That Who video you did was the best thing ever. That was the best video you've ever done. top notch to you both. I really enjoyed it, and it looks like a really good Hoover.
You're just trying to prod me, aren't you? Because you know what you're doing there, don't you?
What?
Yes, you do.
Oh, okay.
So thank you.
I've run out of rumours, but we didn't actually rate that one. So
Okay, will it feature a body temperature sensor so that it can give you even more annoying notifications, or give you another ring to close? Well done, you didn't get a fever today. Dave, you're not dying of COVID. Or my personal favourite, when you start washing your hands, but then it gives up detecting that you're washing your hands partway through. And so after thoroughly washing your hands, it then chides you on how you haven't washed your hands properly.
we have definitely got to do if Apple Watch was a person.
Okay. Let's indeed do that. Yeah, absolutely green for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Will it feature some temperature sensor? Yes. Sure. Why not?
I think amber, because I think it may be a while yet that they can get that accurate.
I wonder whether everything's going to get delayed anyway, because Apple are definitely getting affected by the
China
situation.
lockdowns.
Yeah,
big time.
I mean, there's people who've ordered the new MacBook Pros in February, and they're looking at July delivery dates.
Which year?
This year, apparently.
Okay.
Not
Sorry,
last year.
Sorry if you're waiting for that. Okay. Shall we draw it to a close at that point?
Probably. Erin, you can probably tell us how long we've been talking for, and I suspect it's a long time.
I don't know.
Brilliant. Excellent.
Thanks for watching, though, everyone. It's nice to be back, and hopefully you feel the same about that. If not, I'll consider that my marching orders.
Well, you've got a lot to live up to after having to do one with Erin.
It must be a relief for you, actually, after one with Erin and then one with the boy who didn't talk.
Would
you like to do my impression of...
Is that your impression of Tom? He watches this as well. He might not watch it this week, though, because he's busy getting botulism at Centre Parks.
Yes. Yes. That's my impression of Tom on the podcast.
Okay.
And he will watch it because he'll want to know if I'm taking the mick out of him.
Good. Well, mission accomplished there. So I think that's it for us this week, and we will be back next week.
Yes, we will.
We will, and we shall do something else and talk about something of interest on the Constant Geekery podcast.
Something tech related.
Probably.
Thanks for watching.
Cheerio.
Au revoir.
Au revoir. You spend one weekend in Paris and suddenly you're a sophisticated French person that's half blind with a dodgy fringe.
Wow.
If it makes you feel any better, I didn't notice the fringe at all. I always thought you had bad hair.
That's so rude.